Good morning, Turks and Caicos. Oh, what a day. We've been waiting for this. I'm Cheryl Foreman, and welcome to RTC's Pre-Election Day coverage. So, listeners, viewers, the countdown is on, the stage is set, and democracy is about to take center stage. Tomorrow, the people decide, the ballots speak, and history just waits to be written. Welcome to RTC's Pre-Election Day live coverage, where we bring you the pulse of the nation, the facts you need, and the insights that matter. Buckle up, TCI. Election Day is now just hours away. A nation stands on the edge of decision. Campaigns have roared, promises have been made, and now the power shifts. And guess who that power shifts to? The power shifts to you, the voter. Will history be rewritten, or will continuity prevail? As we brace for Election Day, RTC is here with the essential details, the big questions, and the voices that matter. This is your Pre-Election Day live coverage, and it all starts now. We're going to join our colleagues in Grand Turk so they can tell you who they are and what they have lined up for us.
Good morning, Turks and Caicos. By now, just about everyone knows that I am Robert Hall, host of Expressions, among other things. We are here to begin the pre-election day coverage, and I am more than delighted to see that we are employing all sorts of technology, and all in the interest of RTC giving you extended coverage. As Cheryl said, this is indeed historic. This election will be held under the new constitution, where all of the members would be elected in a combination of 9 at-large seats and 10 single-member constituencies. There are a number of other matters that we will draw to your attention as we go through, but I will give way to the brilliant Ms. Clark.
Hello, Turks and Caicos. My name is Glenda Clark, and I hail from Grand Turk. I am happy to be a part of this trailblazing activity. It's the first time we'll be televising live on such an occasion. So I look forward to the coming for today, what we have lined up for you, and for tomorrow, the day of determination. So I turn it back over to Ms. Cheryl in Providenciales.
Thank you so much, Glenda and Honorable Hall. It's good to have you all in studio in Grand Turk with us. We know that the former Speaker of the House, the Honorable Robert Hall, is a seasoned politician, and so we're looking forward to the insights and details he's going to give us. Now, our guests have been in studio for quite some time, so we're going to take a short break, and we'll introduce our first guest on this pre-election day coverage. We'll be right back.
Your vote is important, and this technology is here to enhance your voting experience, making it easier and more secure. Let's dive in. Upon arriving at the polling station, find your designated voting area, which will be in alphabetical order. Don't forget to bring a government-issued photo ID or identity verification. Acceptable forms of ID include the TCI status card, TCI driver's license, TCI National Health Insurance Plan card, National Insurance Board ID, or your TCI passport. This step is crucial for ensuring a smooth and secure voting process. If you do not have any one of these, you may not be permitted to vote. It is also important to note that cellular phones are not allowed inside of the polling station. Once you've entered the polling station, Please have your ID in hand at the check-in table. Present your photo ID to the election official. The poll clerk will confirm your identity with the electronic poll book to ensure you are registered at the polling station and is eligible to vote. Once the poll clerk is satisfied that your ID corresponds with your registration detail in the electronic poll book, the presiding officer will issue a ballot paper. You will then take the ballot paper and be given guidance or instructions on how to vote. Now, it's time to cast your vote. Step into the private voting booth and fill out your ballot. The presiding officer will tell you that you can select up to 9 at-large candidates and 1 candidate in your electoral district by shading the oval-shaped circle next to their names. Once you've completed selecting 9 at-large candidates and 1 candidate in your electoral district on your ballot paper, walk over to the DS200 electronic voting machine and submit your ballot by placing it in the designated slot on the DS200 voting machine. The ballot paper can be inserted anyway into the machine. Wait for the machine to accept your ballot. A message will appear on the screen confirming that your vote has been successfully recorded. If there is an error or a mistake was made on your ballot paper, the DS200 will give a notice on the screen. Please read carefully. The machine will also give you the option to return the ballot paper to the presiding officer. It will also allow you to choose whether you want to accept your ballot paper with the error or mistake. If you decide to cast the ballot with the mistake or error, the machine will accept your ballot and display a message, "Thank you for voting." You will be required to have your finger stained before leaving the polling station. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to ask the presiding officer. They are there to help. We are changing the way you vote. Happy voting! Thank you for participating in our democratic process.
Welcome back to RTC's Pre-Election Day coverage. We have the distinct pleasure of having the Director of Meteorology here in the Turks and Caicos Islands, our very own Dr. Holly Hamilton. Dr. Hamilton, morning. Thank you for joining us.
Good morning, Ms. Foreman. Good morning, Turks and Caicos. It's a pleasure to be here on this pre-election day.
Now, as I jumped in the car earlier, I noticed my wipers came on. I thought maybe I had left them on, and then I noticed that there was some water on my windshield.
Yes.
So, as we prepare for elections, what sort of weather can we expect tomorrow?
Well, I'll have them put the satellite imagery on the screen. And go back to the loop. But we're under a high pressure ridge pattern, and that's been the case for a number of days now, and that's going to continue going into next week. With that, it's supporting dry and stable weather conditions. You also notice that it's been pretty breezy for the past couple of days. If you can bring up the 7 Turks and Caicos right there north of the Hispaniola. You see some clouds, some bands of clouds, patches of clouds blowing across the Turks and Caicos Islands. So today we're looking at a mix of sun and clouds. As Ms. Foreman said, some light showers, just quick showers, isolated showers across the islands today. And if we pull up the 7-day public weather forecast, as I said, that high pressure ridge pattern will sustain going into next week. So it's pretty much the same in terms of weather for the next couple of days. Tomorrow, election day, we're looking at partly sunny conditions, some low chance of showers again, spotty showers across the islands. So walk with your umbrella, just keep it in the car, but we're not talking about heavy showers, sustained rain, just quick passing showers. It's breezy, so you might want to carry a little bit, a light jacket with you for those who are and I urge you not to go out into the Atlantic waters. Yeah, and that's pretty much it. We're looking good for the next 7 days.
So, Dr. Holly, given your forecast a while ago, do you envision any sort of challenges for voters traveling to and from polling stations, particularly in the Family Islands?
Not necessarily. I mean, if they're traveling by boat, and I'm sure we have seasoned boaters who know how to navigate the waters. But like I said, the Atlantic waters, we're looking at some moderate seas, moderate waves, 5 to 8 feet. So we usually issue a small craft advisory for that. But other than that, the weather is going to be pretty boring, for a lack of a better word. Uneventful, let's say that.
Now we know what you do is a science, but it's still unpredictable.
Yeah.
So what should voters do if there's any sort of sudden storm or heavy rain? What sort of advice?
Like I said, travel with your umbrellas. Stay tuned if you're not to Turks and Caicos Islands National Weather Service, various social media platforms. We're on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. We also have a WhatsApp broadcast channel. So if you subscribe to those different platforms, you will get up-to-date information. We're always watching the weather, and we'll keep you informed. But like I said, pretty much uneventful in terms of weather. Rain will be minimal, quick passing showers. It's going to be a good day to go out and vote.
In preparation for Election Day, did you and your team have any sort of collaboration with the Elections Office regarding weather?
No, not necessarily, but I'm glad you guys brought me on today so we could speak to that, and I'm happy to help.
And let's talk a little bit about you. Are you a registered voter?
I am, and like I said, this is actually my first time voting, so I'm pretty excited to exercise my civic duty finally in the Turks and Caicos Islands.
Any last minute advice? You told us all about the weather. Anything you'd like to repeat or just remind, particularly our elderly voters? You mentioned that maybe some of them would like to take a light sweater or a light jacket with them. Anything else that they in particular should be looking out for?
Not necessarily, like I said before, and if you want to stay informed and be up to date on anything that might transpire, subscribe to the WhatsApp broadcast channel. And somehow we can get that information shared at some point today. Maybe we can provide a link or something like that. But yeah.
Okay. That's Dr. Holly Hamilton, our Director of Meteorology here in the Turks and Caicos Islands, telling us that tomorrow is going to be a great day to go out and vote. So let's exercise our right and go to our polling stations and vote. Dr. Holly, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Happy voting day tomorrow.
Thank you.
That's Dr. Holly Hamilton telling us about the weather. Let's go back to our colleagues in Grand Turk.
Just leave it, I guess.
Well, here we are at the studio in Grand Turk, Mr. Glenda Clark and myself, and you all can see we have the supervisor of the election, Mr. Dudley Lewis, here. So we're going to have a little chat with him, and I'm sure he has quite a bit of pertinent information to provide to the general public. Mr. Lewis, you may wish to make some introductory comments, and then Glenda and I will have some questions for you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Hall, and I'm happy to be here. This is not my first election. This will be the fourth election that I will be the supervisor of elections. It has not been easy being the supervisor of elections for the past 3 elections. What I can say is that the most challenging elections that I had to be in charge of was the last elections when we had COVID. It was very, very challenging. But for this election, we will be introducing electronic voting. And this electronic voting will make it much easier for voters to vote. Because the electronic voting, we will only have 1 ballot paper instead of having 2 last elections. The voters are asked to shade the candidates of their choice on the ballot paper that will be provided to them. They'll be provided to the ballot, they'll check their names when they go into the polling station. Once their name are on the register for the 2024 register, they will then be directed to the presiding officer, who will give them instructions, provided they produce their identification, and they will be given a ballot paper, and then simply take the ballot to the machine and mark their ballots, the candidates of their choice, and the machine will count their ballot. It is very simple. This is a historical occasion, Mr. Hall and Ms. Clark, and I am happy to be the one that is introducing this, because I started out about 6 years ago trying to introduce this new technology for Turks and Caicos Islands elections. But I was unable to last general election because of COVID. But now here we are. This is history, and I'm very happy to be a part of this history occasion.
And let me take this opportunity to commend you for the work that you have done over the years. I am sure those who have interacted with you have found you a delight to deal with. I know even with my show Expressions, I quite often ask you questions and you're always forthcoming. I appreciate that. And so I'll take the liberty on behalf of the general public to thank you for the services that you have been given this country. Now let's move on to some questions. I will ask a few, and of course Ms. Clark will ask some as she sees fit. All right. In this election, can you tell us what is the total number of voters out there, and how does that compare with the numbers in the last elections?
Okay, for the 2024 elections, we have a figure of 9,412 registered voters that were registered on the 2024 register that will be able to vote in this general elections. In 2021, we had 8,776 registered voters that voted in the 2021 general elections. The percentage in 2021 was high. It could have been higher, but we are looking forward for this election for the percentage of voter turnout to be much higher than the 2021 general elections.
There was a register of voters recently published. Some persons may be a little bit confused about it. Could you explain that? Because there are some names that may appear there but might not be able to vote in this election. So explain that, which some may see as a discrepancy. I know otherwise, but explain it.
Thank you, Mr. Hall and Ms. Clark. In accordance with the law, we are required to produce a register every year. We produce the 2026 list that was published last Saturday. Now, that list that we produce is not the list that will be used for general elections. I want to make that clear to voters. That is not the list that will be used for this general election. The list that will be used for this general elections is the 2024 register. And for you to be on that register, you will have to register by November 30th, 2023. So that is the difference between it's a register and a list. The list was published last Saturday, not a register.
If you wish.
Yes, I actually would like to speak about the new system, the new method of the population voting. For years now, we have been dealing with X marking the spot.
Yes.
X marks the spot. And I know there has been demonstrations, yes, of the new system. How long of a process has that been to inform the general public?
Okay, the machines were introduced last year in 2020, the beginning of 2024. We had the opportunity of going around the islands and educating the public how to cast ballots and the use of the machines, right? There has been demonstrations, there's been publications of how to shade your ballot throughout. We've done extensive publication of the DS200 because we want everyone to understand the machine and understand how to mark that ballot, because it's very important, because we don't want them to make no mistakes. But the good thing about this machine is if you make a mistake, if you're required to vote for 9 all island persons. If you make a mistake, you vote for 10, the machine will indicate that you voted for 10 and ask you if you want to cast your ballot or if you wanted to return. If you cast your ballot, that will not count. But if you say, I wanted to return, then you will be given a next ballot. An opportunity to vote again. Before you didn't know whether your ballot was spoiled or what.
Okay.
But this time, you will know.
But my question is, that I'm concerned about. I had cause to be at the emergency hospital last night, and I heard the youth, well, younger than me, speaking about them getting ready to mark their X. They didn't say shade in their ballot, okay? Then, when I went on Facebook, social media, there was a gentleman that I follow in North Caicos. His post was about getting ready to mark his X. This is North Caicos now. And then earlier, yesterday, speaking with my father, he now looking at his WhatsApp chats, someone posted in one of his group chats how instructing the group how to go about marking their X. They want to mark an X. My question is now, if they were to mark an X and not shade in that oval, the area, what happens to that?
Okay, that's a good question. We encourage all voters to shade the oval. That is in accordance with the ordinance. To shade the oval,
so they have to shade and not
the X.
So X does not mark.
Well, it depends, because if the X is maybe in that oval, right, then maybe, but we wouldn't encourage that. We encourage all the voters to shade the ballot.
Okay, so the process really is shading.
It's shading, not marking an X.
Okay. So then, you're saying that there may be a possibility that even if they did, I shouldn't go there, but from what you're saying, it may be okay, but really they should be
shading. But if they do that, it depends on whether the machine will read that. If the machine read it, it's okay, right? But if the machine do not read it, the machine will give them an option.
Okay, then what about, have you considered tomorrow there being at the stations some demonstration? I don't know if that's possible, whether by television screen, some demonstration as to how to go about, because this is a new process.
Okay, we have posters that is going around the island and indicating to voters that they shouldn't mark the X. Right. They should shade the oval. Right. We have posters for that. So that will be outside the polling station, and the presiding officer, before they give you that ballot paper, will give you instructions and encourage you to the oval, not the X.
Okay, so the presiding officer will also be speaking with persons to make sure that they are aware of the method being used.
And there will also be a poster within the place where you have to mark your ballot.
Polling station?
And poster, when you have to go mark your ballot, there will be a poster indicating that you should shade the oval, and that will be there.
But that leads me to one more concern. I will turn to you in a moment. I have one more concern about that. There are older persons that hands tend to shake. Okay?
Yes.
What happens with that person if they shade in the oval, but the shading goes outside of the boundary? Okay,
in North Caicos, we had an experiment with that.
Yes.
Right, of a person.
Wonderful.
And that person, even though his hands shake, the machine still reads his ballot. Okay, so we have no problem. That shouldn't be a big problem.
Wonderful, wonderful.
That was indeed an interesting question you asked, Glenda. However, I am of the view that a number of persons have not had it added to the vocabulary as yet, the shade.
The shade.
But I think the vast majority...
But they throw shade. They just...
I hear you. Play upon the word. But anyway, I believe the majority are aware that they have to shade instead of X. Because even though I am very familiar with it, chances are I may say, "Are you going to mark X tomorrow?"
So it's just an expression.
That's what it's going to take some time
for them to get into
change to get that into the vocabulary.
Yes.
But the beautiful thing about it, like Mr. Lewis said, if there is a mistake, say with the X or what have you, the machine will say, and the person gets a chance to have it corrected.
Yes.
Follow up on that. Apart from those individuals with shaky hands, there are those who may be visually impaired or otherwise. Can they have somebody else to vote for them?
Yes, they can have someone, they take them in to assist them. And this is embedded into the law. But the person must be from the same electoral district. And they can only take in one person from that district.
Correct. And I should have asked from the beginning, while we may know, but for the general public, what time does the poll open and what time they close? And of course, I'm sure this is island-wide.
Okay. In accordance with the law, all polls must open at 7 a.m. and close at 7 p.m. However, if there is, for some reason, that the polls are open at 7:15 p.m., they must close at 7. I should say, if they open at 7:15 a.m., they must close at 7:15 p.m. Once they reach that time, what will happen is that the returning officer will request a police to go behind the last person in the line, so that no one will be able to join that line, right?
Right. But it does mean, let's say, there are 50 persons in the line after 7:15.
Yes.
Those 50 would be allowed to vote.
Because the police officer will go behind the last person in the line.
All right. Okay, that's, again, just for clarification on behalf of the public.
Sure.
Another question before I go back to Glenda. There are certain restrictions as to where people could gather. For instance, it is usual that parties would have what we'll call, let me call it a camp, so many feet away, where they may have a water stand or so on, and some of the voters may congregate and move from there to go and vote. Speak to us of that, please.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Hall. That is a very good question. In accordance with the law, the outer limits are 150 yards from the outer limits of the polling station. If they congregate in the 100 beyond that, then that's no problem. But the police is quite aware of this, and I've spoken to them. We had a discussion on that this morning, and they are quite aware of how to deal with that.
Right. I mean, I am a non-drinker of alcohol, but there are some individuals who want to just warm up the system. Speak of that. I know there are certain restrictions about the issuance of alcohol or the bars selling it and so on, the like. Just speak to the public of that for clarification.
Again, very good question, Mr. Hall. On polling day, according to the law, no liquor license premises are permitted to be open. No liquor license. As long as you're issued a liquor license in accordance with the liquor license ordinance, no premises should be open. Then this includes the hotels as well. Right? As long as they are in the electoral district, right, they cannot sell alcohol. And the police is quite aware of this.
Now that would be interesting, because I wonder for some of the guests at these hotels, when they request alcoholic beverages, whether in practice now any exception is made for them.
Well, I was in contact with the person that represents the hotel association, and I explained to her, after receiving instructions on this issue, I explained to her the situation and let her know that what the law says as far as this is concerned in respect of the hotels. And she said that she will pass this on to the various hotels, that they shouldn't be serving alcohol during 7 a.m. and 7 p.m.
I know you cannot control what happened on the cruise ships, but let's say on election day, there are cruise ships in town. Margaritaville comes alive.
Well,
Can they serve?
as long as they are in the electoral district, they should not be serving alcohol. That is my instructions.
I asked that again.
Yes,
though,
I understand where you're coming
because
from.
I wonder if that was really pointed out to them, because it simply means then someone, say from in town, may say, well, man, ain't no bar open. I go to Margaritaville, have my little drink.
This is why no premises should be, as long as they have a license issued by the licensing authorities of the Turks and Caicos Islands, and in accordance with the elections ordinance, they should not be selling liquor between 7 a.m. and 7 p.m.
What would be the consequences
Well, the fine,
if they disobey?
the fine is a very heavy fine that goes with that.
Which
The police
is-
will be involved when it comes to that.
Okay, so persons can be arrested.
Yes, and charged. And the establishment will be fined for that.
Okay.
Now, we have, well, a number of candidates. The two major parties are fielding their 19. We have at least about 4 independent candidates, and then there's one third-party candidate. The law stipulates that you have to have a certain percentage of the votes to retain your deposit, because
Yes.
each candidate had to make a deposit before they were nominated. What is that percentage that they would have to achieve in
1/8.
order that the Treasury would not be the beneficiary of their deposit?
If my memory serves me well, I think they have to have 1/8 of the votes cast within that electoral district.
Okay.
Okay.
So, for instance, then, as we have the running, oh no, that's at large. Sorry, but let's say if there was one running in Grand Turk, North or South,
Right.
and they would have to get 1/8 of the vote cast. All
Correct.
right, and the same goes for the at-large candidate.
Large candidates and the district candidates.
Wow, that's a steep
I
mountain.
know.
That's a steep mountain to climb.
Yes, it is.
All right.
And the previous elections, a lot of candidates didn't get their $500 back.
Okay. In the last election, I was projecting who may not, but I'm not going to go that
No,
road this time.
We're not, not doing that.
No, absolutely not. Absolutely not.
May I?
Good.
My question is about the recount. If
Yes.
a party opts for, what is the process, seeing as we have the new system? What would be the process for the district and...
Okay, let me say this, okay. After the polls close,
Yes.
the machine will generate a report, okay?
Okay.
That report will request the persons in the polling stations, which include the agents of the party, to sign that report. That report will be posted at in the polling station, right? If a candidate is not satisfied with the results, he can ask for a recount.
Yes.
But that request must be made immediately, not 3-4 hours down the line.
So he cannot go home and think...
No, it must be made immediately, the law says.
Yes.
Okay?
Yes.
And may I just piggyback on the question she asked there then? I know years ago, for instance, if a person fails to ask for recount in a stipulated time, the only other alternative they had was to go to court. Is that provision still there?
No, that provision is not there, Mr. Hall. I think that has been taken out. You just ask for a recount. You have to ask for a recount for that to take place.
Yeah, no, I just thought that is important for the public to know that. Hopefully all the candidates know that their only chance of a recount is promptly after the results are announced.
That is correct.
Good. Glenda?
So is it that the machines are the only method of doing this recount, or there's another process?
Okay, once a recount has been requested,
Yes.
it has to be done manually. It wouldn't be put back through the machines. It will be done manually.
Okay, so the machine gives the tally.
Right.
You're not satisfied. If a candidate is not satisfied with that tally, then it has to be a manual
recount.
Okay.
How many recounts are allowed?
Just one recount per candidate. They cannot ask for 3 and 4 recounts.
All right, I'll ask just one more question because we're pretty much out of time. It's sort of hypothetical. What time do you think first results would be available?
Okay, the polls close at 7 p.m. You can expect results at 7:15, 7:30.
Wow.
That quickly.
That is very quick. Very
Okay.
quick.
Mr. Lewis, because we have to go and maybe link up with the Provincial side, we want to thank you ever so much for being here with us today and answering these questions, all for the benefit of the public. Thank you ever
Thank
so
you very much, Uncle Hall and Ms. Clark. Thank you.
Thank you very much to our colleagues there in Grand Turk, speaking to the Supervisor of Elections, Mr. Lister Dudley Lewis. Now, my guest here in studio in Providenciales is someone that I regard as a very dear friend, but I try to avoid him as much as possible when he's in full uniform. Please help me welcome and say good morning to Superintendent Dwight Gardner. Superintendent, good morning.
Hello, good morning, Turks and Caicos. My name is Dwight Gardner, as my good friend just said. I am acting Assistant Commissioner of Police. I have responsibilities for community policing and also divisions or territorial policing. I'm one of the commanding officers for our general elections scheduled for tomorrow.
So, Superintendent Gardner, what security measures has the Royal Turks and Caicos Islands Police Force put in place to ensure a smooth election day?
All right, thank you. Well, we have some primary objectives. I will go and list just a few of them. One, we want to ensure that we deliver a police service to the community that will inspire confidence. So in doing that, we will show impartiality. We would also be fair, effective, but professional in the way we conduct our duties. We also want to minimize any disruptions to the community during the election process.
Go ahead.
Additionally, in order to facilitate our objectives, what we will be doing and are doing, we're making preparations now. We will be deploying officers at all of the polling stations. One, they will support the polling station staff. They also will facilitate any peaceful protests. They would also be there to investigate any incidents in relation to any offenses associated with the election process. So we are full go. We have briefed all of our officers on all the election laws, and we're ready to go. And we have all the confidence in the world that tomorrow, from a police standpoint, we will facilitate a safe election for the TCI.
Thank you so much for that. I think as the public, we feel equally sure and confident that the Royal Turks and Caicos Islands Police Force will do its best. And just before we go any further, we want to thank you and the entire officers and ranks for the service you give each day. We're certainly grateful for what the police force does, and so we wanted to say thank you. You answered quite a few of my questions, but I'm going to ask just so that we have full clarity. So what role will the police play in assisting the TCI Elections Office tomorrow? What would be your primary role?
Okay, so we'll provide security, one. In terms of transportation of ballot boxes and any other equipment in relation to the elections, we will provide security and escort, in other words, in relation to security. We would also be at the polling station, so we have officers assigned to each polling station throughout the Turks and Caicos Islands. We have within that number of officers, assigned officers at each polling station, we have a commanding officer at each polling station. So that's an officer with significant experience that can address any matters that would arise at that polling station. Those officers are briefed in terms of any offenses associated with the elections ordinance. And I would just go to mention some of the offenses that we are on alert for. Tomorrow, no liquor license premise should be selling any alcohol. All right, one. No alcohol should be given. So even if it's not sold, no one should be handing out or giving alcohol to anyone. And that goes for, Mr. Lewis would have mentioned it earlier in his interview, and that goes for all facilities, all liquor license premises across TCI. Also, persons wearing any paraphernalia, any clothing that would indicate they have the markings of any political party, stuff like that we're monitoring. Also, in terms of the boundaries at the polling station, the law is 150 yards away from the polling station, that perimeter. So police will be on alert and mindful of persons that are not complying with regards to that perimeter.
And Acting Assistant Commissioner, how do you expect us as voters, what would you expect in terms of our decorum? How are you expecting voters to behave at polling stations?
Well, I want the voters to help us, help them, to ensure a peaceful and safe election process for everyone. So our part is to ensure that you are safe, right? Everyone, it's a democratic right of everyone to exercise their right to vote. So by us having that visible presence, and in addition, and may I mention, in addition to having officers at the polling stations, we also upholding our responsibility of high visibility policing within our vulnerable communities. So we will have police, a strong presence within the communities still. So we have strategized, and we have our resources deployed proportionately and appropriately. So like I said, we will be effective, and I have all the confidence in the world that we will facilitate a safe election for tomorrow.
Yeah. Now, sad to say, but it's true nevertheless, we have some bullies here in Turks and Caicos. So what if a voter feels intimidated at a polling station tomorrow? What should he or she do? Are we to report it to the officer that's there at the polling station? What procedure should we take?
Well, absolutely. If the officer, first off, officers will be on alert and be vigilant. They will monitor those polling lines closely to ensure that no one is intimidating anyone or trying to influence. That's another offense under the election ordinance, trying to influence another individual to vote for whoever it may be, right? Any candidate. So we expect persons to report anything that we did not see reported to us, and we will intervene. That's what we are there for, and that's what I expect of all of the officers that I work with.
You mentioned earlier our clothing and wearing branded paraphernalia or branded clothing. What if a voter does show up in this? What happens to that voter?
Well, voter will give them an opportunity, because we don't want to take people's right away to vote. So we'll give you an opportunity to comply. If you fail to comply, then that is an offense, and we can take the necessary action. But I would implore anyone that happen to do that, comply with our instructions.
Are there any restrictions on campaigning at polling stations?
Yes, it is. Within the polling hours, 7 a.m. to 7 p.m., at the polling stations, no one should be campaigning. As a matter of fact, that goes for the candidates themselves, the candidates and their agent. I believe Mr. Lewis probably would have covered that during his interview. But either the agent or the candidate is allowed within the facility. But we will be monitoring that also closely.
You mentioned the sale and the use of alcohol. What are some of the penalties for anybody who violates this regulation?
Well, the penalty, if anyone is convicted, it was first reported for the offense. And by the way, any offense that's within the view and the sight of a police officer is an arrestable offense, right? Even if it is summary. But it is $1,000 fine or 6 months imprisonment if found guilty. So that is pretty severe. So again, I would implore, please comply with the law. We want a safe and a peaceful election tomorrow.
Yeah, and given the logistical challenges and some of both our polling station and our islands, how will the Royal Turks and Caicos Islands Police Force respond to any challenge? How many officers, let's say, will be in North Caicos? And suppose there's an incident that 1 or 2 officers can't handle. How will you deploy officers to these islands almost immediately?
Well, policing is always dynamic, so anything could happen at any time. It's all hands on deck for tomorrow. We have deployed officers to North Caicos, so we have an increased police presence in North Caicos already. However, if there's additional resources that's needed, that's a quick response. We have mechanisms in place to deploy additional officers, and that is for all of the islands across the TCI.
What about traffic? What kind of traffic are you expecting tomorrow, and how are you preparing for it?
Well, as I mentioned, we do have officers out and about, not just stationed at the polling station. So I don't want anyone to get the idea that because we're focusing on elections that we're neglecting our other responsibilities. We will be within every community showing high visibility to reduce any incidents of crime. But in terms of persons who may think they can get away with committing traffic offenses, we would have officers on the roads. Business does not stop for us in relation to everything else, all our responsibilities. We're on top of it. Trust me.
Now we understand that our essential services, people like yourself and your colleagues, have the right to vote early and can walk up to the polling lines. Will the officers, or are the officers of the Royal Turks and Caicos Islands Police Force, have they said that they're actually going to go out to vote?
There's quite a few officers that will exercise their right to vote. That is their democratic right, and we will facilitate them. So, because an officer have a duty is working, he or she still would have the opportunity to vote.
Mm-hmm. What about any final messages? Something that we didn't cover that the public should be aware of?
Right. As I said in the beginning, our objective is to ensure that we support the delivery of a safe election for all of TCI. And there are a number of laws that the public would have been advised about this whole campaign season. So my advice to the members, to the public, please comply with the laws of the TCI. Comply with the laws specifically in relation to the electoral process. We will enforce it, but we need your cooperation in order for us to do our job effectively also. So this is a partnership. At the end of the day, the results are what they are. But what we want is fairness and we want safety.
Yeah, and just before you go, Acting Assistant Commissioner, okay, so we talked about polling day and all the procedures and processes, but what about later on, those people celebrating? What do you expect of those people? What rules should they follow?
Well, use discretion, and after the polling stations are closed, and I know people may be celebrating, but bear in mind, again, the law. We expect you to use discretion when it comes to drinking and driving. You should not drink and drive. Also, be respectful of whoever the other candidates or party that was not successful during the election. Be respectful. We don't want anyone to incite any incident that may lead to harm to anyone or lead to some unrest. So this is a time post-election that I think we must also comply with the law of the TCI. So I think that is it. We are expecting tomorrow to go well from our standpoint. Officers will be on duty early o'clock tomorrow morning before the sunrise, and we will be present throughout the whole process. And we're here to support the residents of the TCI, well, anyone in the TCI, but also the whole elections department in conducting their duties.
So would you say that the Royal Turks and Caicos Islands Police Force is ready for tomorrow?
Absolutely. Absolutely. We're ready. Trust me.
That was Acting Assistant Commissioner Dwight Gardner telling us all about the role and expectations of the Royal Turks and Caicos Islands Police Force tomorrow on Election Day. Superintendent Gardner, we want to thank you for taking the time out. Like I said, you know, we'll laugh and talk when you're out of the car keys, and we'll have a good time then. But thank you so very much, and please convey our best regards to the officers and ranks of the force, and we invite you all to stay safe.
Thank you.
That was Acting Assistant Commissioner Dwight Gardner telling us about the Royal Turks and Caicos Islands Police Force, the expectations for voters, and the logistical plans that the police also have to ensure our safety and security on Election Day tomorrow, February 7th. We're going to take a short break. We'll be right back.
This video provides step-by-step instructions for how to cast your vote on the DS200 tabulator. We are changing the way you vote. When you check in, present your national identification for the registration process. A poll worker will register you by using the electronic poll book. The electronic poll book will have registration details you provided to us and also ensure you are at the correct polling station. Once the registration process is complete, the poll worker will provide you with a ballot. Take your ballot to an available voting booth and shade in the circle of your choice. Remember that you can only vote for one electoral district and 9 at-large candidates. If you made a mistake, ask the poll worker for a new form. When you are satisfied with your choices, take your ballot to the DS200 tabulator. Insert your ballot into the secure tabulator. Your ballot can be inserted in any direction. Do not fold your ballot. The display screen will notify you once the system has successfully captured your vote. A thank you for voting message will appear to confirm tabulation. Consult with a poll worker about other messages. Thanks for watching. See you at the polls.
I didn't touch my mic. I can hear you now.
Yes, apologize for a little technical hiccup. But like I was saying, we're back at the studio in Grand Turk, myself and the lovely attorney at law, Ms. Glenda Clark.
Yes.
Certainly nice to have her here. And we will continue with some of our comments for tomorrow. Mr. Lewis is here earlier on, and he mentioned that there has been a little bit of an increase in the registered number of voters. The question in many persons' minds is whether we will have a higher turnout than the last election. Even proportionately, I think we will, although in my estimation, we didn't see the kind of fever in the campaigns like it used to be yesteryear. And I wonder whether it's the matter of technology playing a role. Some decide to stay home, the comfort of their home, and watch it.
On Facebook?
That's correct.
Yes.
And in particular, so the young people. And then in Grand Turk in particular, there is the matter of many civil servants not want to be seen.
Yes.
Because of the various instructions given from the Attorney General's, from the Deputy Governor's office.
Continue. It's a lag.
Yes, but again, tomorrow is a really historic day for the Turks and Caicos Islands. This election is being held with a new constitution in place. Instead of how the House was constituted before, it's different this time around. There will be 19 candidates in total. That is for each party.
Yes.
9 at large and 10 single member. There will be no nominated members this time round. The only unelected individuals in the House, provisions are made for the Speaker to come from outside, and the Attorney General is always an official there. Any comments, Glenda?
So then my question would be, what is the difference from what we had last time to now the new constitution? We now have a parliament instead of a House of Assembly. But what is the difference?
Well, I'll humorously say, like I said on one of my previous shows, let's hope it's not like a deceased friend of mine from Lormers used to say, changey for changey, black dog for monkey. Let's hope that is not the case, but instead, let's hope it suggests more autonomy for our legislators. I have said on expressions many times, Parliament really means the supreme law-making body in the country. Can we call it supreme if someone in the United Kingdom can still overrule our laws?
Right.
Because, as you know, the Parliament here, and previous to the House of Assembly, could even unanimously pass a bill, but the governor could have refused to assent to it on certain grounds, and the Premier would have had the right to appeal in London, and the Secretary of State had the final say. In my view, if it is a full Parliament, then all matters in that regard should rest with the Parliament.
Yes, but then does it?
I guess it's a matter of wait and see. I know that Bermuda has had full internal self-government for umpteen years.
Yes.
We do not have. They have a parliament. Their system is different, and a senate, indeed. And the provisions where they, through an act of council in the United Kingdom, laws might be made, that's no longer applicable to Bermuda.
Right. Right.
But anyway, like you rightly said, we shall wait and see.
Interesting times. Well, we're all excited that there is what we now call a parliament. But with this parliament, do you think there may be a new ministry created for any of the candidates who, whichever party wins?
Well, in the new constitution, yes, provisions were made for that, increasing the number of ministers.
Right.
Of course, the public should be aware that means an increase on the public's purse.
Yes.
Now, mind you, legislatively, some changes have been made with regards to the benefits of members of what would be now Parliament. I was saying to someone last night, in my time, the law stipulated for pensionable purposes, we had to have 3 consecutive terms.
Right.
Now, speaking using myself as an example, because I had broken terms, 1, 2, lost 1, came back with another, I would not have qualified for pensions just by that. And that is why I was made a nominated member to qualify. There's some intricacies about that which I will not go into. But anyway, that is the case. The public has been clamoring out for a long time because during the Mike Mizik administration, he had a change whereby individuals are pensionable for only 2 terms. And many have been crying out, and they thought that that was ridiculous, particularly when you look at the length of time that civil servants have to serve before. Now, mind you, I am aware of the differences in the role, responsibility, and the pressures that politicians face. However, I too felt that that 2-term thing was wrong. And one that has not been touched. And I don't want to be too provocative today, but you may be aware that during the Mike Mizik's administration, they also made provision that the chief ministers or premiers' pensions will be based on the sitting premier's salary.
Really?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I was not.
But that provision was not made for ministers and others, solely for that. But anyway, I don't need to dig deeper into that point as such. But with the amendment now, they have moved it back to 3 terms instead of 2, like before.
What I am pleased about, because I would like to wrap it up. What I would have loved to speak to you about is you were there from 1976.
Not quite.
Well, you came in.
Yeah, I ran as independent in 76, but I won in 1980. Yes.
Okay, you weren't in, but you were a part of the new regime then, and now you're here for the parliament. I would have liked to have known, or have you tell us about the pros and cons, or the advancement that you've noticed from 1976 until now.
Okay, time might not permit me, but let me see if I can do it as fast as I can. Of course, the name change was one. At one time we had State Council. Okay, then we had Legislative Assembly. Because humorously, I remember, I think it was when I was in Jamaica, and I saw Mr. Headley Durham, MSc. Now, I didn't distinguish between the small C and big C. And I started clapping. I said, well, that's great. We have somebody in the house with an MSc, meaning members of science, Masters of Science. But in fact, the small C, that meant, the big C, that meant member of the State Council. But anyway, we changed from that on to House of Assembly and now on to Parliament. And of course, we have had various changes to the Constitution, even periods when the Constitution was suspended. And the British has imposed different systems of voting. We had multi-member, single member, back and forth. But at the end of the day, and I've always maintained, the people will vote for the persons of their choice, whatever system is used. I think we're out of time, so I've got to leave it there.
Thank you so much, Robert and Glenda. That was interesting. Didn't realize, I know you'd been in Parliament for quite some time in the House of Assembly, but didn't realize it was all the way from 1980. So thank you very much, and thank you for your service to the Turks and Caicos Islands. Now, our next guest here in studio in Providenciales, we didn't expect him to join us. We thought we were going to have to go to him, because today is almost D-Day for him. But we have with us the campaign manager for the Progressive National Party, Mr. Juan Harvey, aka College. Mr. Harvey, how are you?
I am fine. I am excited. We're ready for tomorrow, and I'm just excited.
Okay, so with just hours to go before the polls open, how confident are you in securing a victory for the PNP?
Well, I think the choice has been clear, especially during the election campaign. This past few weeks, especially this week, has been one like no other. And the two parties has clearly shown where they stand. And we have one party that has I don't even know what to call it, but the level of politics is not something that I was impressed with or pleased with. And I think when it comes to making that decision of the direction of where we want the country to go, whether it's going to be in a positive direction that benefits everyone, and I said positive, pun intended, and I think it's going to be PNP straight down the line. In the next 5 years, it's going to be a beautiful, beautiful time for Turks and Caicos and everyone that lives here.
Now, Mr. Harvey, they say hindsight is 20/20. Looking back, what would you say was your greatest challenge in the campaign leading up to this moment?
I think our greatest challenge has been getting the information out to the general public of what the Progressive National Party was able to accomplish over the past 4 years. We're up to about 148 wins. We call them wins, but they're actually deliverables, things that the Honorable Charles Washington, Music Uncle Washi, we call him, along with his dedicated team, was able to accomplish. The list was so long, the time period was a bit short, and getting that information out there in a digestible form where people can understand what was done and how they can utilize those programs, that was a bit challenging. But we have a great media team. Shout outs to Omega. And then we have a whole team. We have a team that has mobilized, so our challenges were mitigated because of that, I would say.
And what message or messages are you pushing to still those undecided voters?
In my discussion with the Premier this morning, and his words to me was, let's remain positive, let's remain focused, let's remain on target and delivering for the people of the country, reminding them of what we have done, bringing to light what we're going to do, and we trust the people to make the right decision. So I think that's what it is for us.
As campaign manager, what would you say, how has the energy been throughout this campaign? Were you feeling good?
We've had our highs and lows. Of course, we've had our highs and lows, but I would say we've had more highs than lows, which it's a blessing. And I think leading into the election, this Thursday, the energy is high, the base is rallied up. My phone hasn't stopped ringing all morning, and I'm sure that's the same way for everybody else involved, and just positive messages from the entire base. The team, all of the candidates, they're all rallying behind each other and trying to figure out who needs what and if anybody needs any last minute help. So seeing that camaraderie with the team, it's good. It helps to boost the energy. And then we're going to be doing a motorcade today, so we're asking all of our supporters to come out, all of the undecideds. If you're still on the fence, come out, hear what we have to say, feel the energy for yourself. The Premier like to say we're a big tent party and we're very welcoming. So our headquarters right now is open. If you ride by, the doors open. There's a ton of cars in the yard. There's people just coming and going and discussing things and plans for the future. And so the energy has been really good, really positive. And I hope that we can continue to build on that and build on that unity going into the next 5 years.
Yeah. This is RTC's pre-election day coverage. And for those of you who may just be joining us, we're speaking to the campaign manager for the Progressive National Party, Mr. Juan Harvey. Now, Mr. Harvey, we know that voter turnout is crucial. What is the PNP doing to ensure a strong voter turnout tomorrow?
Yes, voter turnout was one of our concerns. Last election, we had the country had about just over 70% voter turnout, so we can increase those numbers. Being realistic, I know it's not going to be 100% turnout, even though that's what we'd like to see. But if we can get I would say 95% turnout and 75% of that for the Progressive National Party, I think that would be good. But we have been, like I said, the headquarters has a lot of folks there now. A part of what we have been doing is educating persons on how to vote, because the process has changed. So that could be a bit intimidating for persons not wanting to go through that new process. So to counteract that blockage, we've been helping persons. We've printed sample ballots for every constituency, and we have those at our headquarters in every constituency, or we have dedicated persons that are able to go around and help those that might be vulnerable or in need of assistance. That's one aspect. Then we've been reaching out to persons via email blasts. Also, we have been making phone calls, reaching out to persons directly. Our candidates themselves has been dedicating time every day to reach out to their constituents and figure out, what direction they can go in, and also encourage them to come out and vote. So we've been tackling that from a number of different aspects, and hopefully it materializes.
Yeah. Let's stay a minute on voter turnout. In the Family Islands, what arrangements have you as campaign manager made to ensure that our elderly get out, those people who are, differently challenged? What sort of arrangements have you put in place to ensure that demographic gets to the polling station?
I didn't know if I wanted to share that information.
Okay, I'll accept that.
Yes, I would say that we have those mechanisms in place, and if you're a supporter of the Progressive National Party or an undecided voter that needs assistance or transportation, we have a contact number that you can be able to reach out to. Also, for each constituency, we have specific persons that would be able to assist you that you can reach out to. You can get more of that information on our WhatsApp channel. Also, you can reach out to your constituency leaders. But I will make those contact numbers available to the general public closer to that time, because
yeah. So we're moving to this electronic tabulation system. Some people are still saying they're not familiar with it. How confident are you in this electronic system, and do you have any concerns about fairness or transparency?
From our understanding, we met with the manufacturers in the elections office. We did the training. We got an explanation of how the machine works, how it functions. One of the questions or concerns we had was if it was going to be connected to the internet or any other type of mechanism where there could be input or data leaving the machine, and we were told that is not the case. It's not connected to the internet. It has a power cord, and then it has a backup battery. So if the power goes out, it has a backup battery that lasts, I think, about for 7 hours. And then they also have a mechanism in place that allows you to submit your ballots manually. So I think there's a couple of field safety measures that has been put in place. So I'm fairly confident with it. It's not a new system. It's been used around the Caribbean and other places. So I don't think it should be a major concern.
So, Mr. Campaign Manager, how will the PNP celebrate if they win? And the second part to that question, which I'm sure you don't want to hear, if it doesn't go that way, how will you respond?
I'm an optimist. I believe in faith, and faith without works is dead. And I think we did the work. So I am going to rely heavily on my faith that we will win. And in terms of celebration, the celebration is going to be similar to what it was when the PNP won 4 years ago, delivering for the people straight out of the gate. And I think that's what it's going to be about. And setting a pace for the next 5 years, setting a pace, a tone. I think that the first 3 months of the administration is going to be very important. And I think the Premier, based on his based on things that he is saying, I think he has a lot to do, and he realizes that. So I don't think there's going to be much celebration. I think he's going to want to get straight to work.
Yeah. So, Mr. Campaign Manager, you mentioned your media team and you gave them a shout out. But what's your message to all those volunteers and workers of the party who just work tirelessly throughout this campaign? What's your message to those people?
I'm glad you asked that question. I was thinking about that on the way here and getting ready, because the party has such a great support team in every district. You know, if I start in ED1, I think of persons like Mr. Ban Kennedy, I think of Ms. Marlon Lightburn, I think of Ms. Jennifer Forbes. There's other folks that I won't call their names because they might be in the public service as well. So, but then you go into ED2, and then with Mr. Lake Gardner, and you have persons like Moses Carter, and you have William Cole and Tilly and Randy, and you know, just to name a few of the guys. You have Marciano, you know, and that's just naming some of the guys. Then you have some of our heavy hitters on the female side, Miss Pauline Sanders, and you know, just to name a few. And that's why I didn't want to get into naming, because I could go through this whole list. But one of the things that I plan to do on February 8th is personally thank as much of these persons as possible. And then you go into ED7, and you have Miss Mills, and you have Miss Emily Sanders, and Mr. Norman Sanders, and you know, Mr. Alden Durham.
You're gonna get in trouble, you know.
You know, yeah, but it's so many of these people, and every time we went around, we would get there and someone would have food prepared for us, and we eat, and they know we got to get on the road and get moving, and there was so much camaraderie, everybody pitching in where they can, and it was just a good family feeling. And we sat down, we eat together, we discuss things in every constituency as it pertains to that constituency. And then we get over to North Caucasus, Chuck's team over there. I was over there with them last night. So amazing. I mean, the fried bonefish, the potato bread, you know, everything. It was just amazing. Chuck has an amazing team.
You didn't bring any?
We came back last night like 1 o'clock, so it was a bit late. But it's just everyone, you know, Honorable Jay Stubbs and Crystal. You have Honorable Rachel and Anel and their team down in Five Keys, and Honorable Akira and Davin and those guys in Leeward, you know, and I could go on, and that's why I didn't want to start it. You got Honorable Kyle Knowles and Miss Lewis and those ones down in Wheeling, and Honorable Randy Howell in Orchard, and Genadio in Blue Hills, and just to name a few. But each of these branches, they have so many different people that we can call on, that we can rely on. And it's been amazing. And I must give special thanks to the stewards of the party, because they have been just awesome with the ground game and assisting in anything that we need. So I must commend everyone in the entire PNP party. From I took this position and it became known to them, I could have grabbed my phone and called anyone, no matter the level, and they made themselves available. They assisted us where needed. So this election is not just about the 19 candidates that we have put forward. There's a whole team and machinery of people. You know, it's a people's party. It's a progressive party, and I think with that movement, with that momentum, with that support, with that love, with that energy of everyone, and the leadership of our pastor, we had a day of prayer. You know, something intimate, nothing just for us as a party and leaders. And the pastor referred to the premier as young man, and you know, and that's where I see him as. So the party is led by a young man that's very experienced, very knowledgeable, and he has a heart of gold. You know, so I think that speaks by the support that we see when we go to each constituency. And I just want to say a great big thank you to every one of you in every electoral district. Some of you that I probably just met, but we're going to be lifetime family and friends. I want to say a big thank you, and I want you to know that we nothing has gone unnoticed, and we will be coming back to personally thank each and every one of you for all that you have done to help us through this process. And as we go to the polls tomorrow, we're looking for your support, and we're looking to see you on the other side of this to do what we need to do to make your lives better.
And finally, Campaign Manager Harvey, give me your elevator pitch. Why should voters support PNP at the ballot box tomorrow?
Voters should, I'm going to tell you why I'm going to support PNP at the ballot box. I am a father. I am a son. My parents are getting up in age. So this election for me, I have to look at it from several different aspects. Me as a young entrepreneur, what's going to be in the best interest of my parents as they age, and what's going to be in the best interest of my children as they grow. And the Honorable Charles Washington Mizik just happened to check all of those boxes when it comes to being well-rounded, caring enough, experienced enough, educated enough to deliver for each of those demographics. So and the man has a heart of gold, you know. So this election is going to be historical, not just because of the parliament and the changes. It's going to be historical because of what he's going to be able to accomplish and the position he's going to be able to leave the country, you know. So yeah.
Thank you very much. Listeners, viewers, we've been talking to the campaign manager of the Progressive National Party, Mr. Juan Harvey. Just so you know, we also reached out to the People's Democratic Movement. We're waiting on their representative or campaign manager to join us, but we have invited them, and we do expect them to join us. We're going to take a short break. We'll be right back to wrap up.
The Elections Department would like to remind voters of the proper way to mark their ballots during the upcoming general elections. To ensure your vote is counted accurately, do not mark an X or a check mark on your ballot. Instead, you must completely shade in the oval next to the candidate or option of your choice. Properly marking your ballot is critical to avoid errors and ensure the electronic tabulating machines can process your vote correctly. If you have any questions about how to correctly mark your ballot, please ask for assistance from the elections officials present at your polling station. Let's work together to make the voting process smooth and effective for everyone. How to shade your ballot. By shading the circle completely and accurately. 1. Fully shade your choice. Voters must completely shade in the oval for 9 at-large candidates and 1 electoral district candidate. 2. Use the provided pen. Use the pen provided to fully shade in the oval next to your chosen candidate. 3. Do not mark outside the oval. Avoid using X's, check marks, or any other symbols in or around the oval. 4. Review your ballot. Before inserting your ballot into the DS200, ensure your selections are clear and accurately shaded. By following these simple steps, you can ensure your voice is heard and your vote is counted.
Election Day coverage here on Radio Turks and Caicos. Just a reminder about our polling stations. We're inviting all registered voters to go out and vote tomorrow. In ED1, Grand Turk North, the polling station is the Ona Glinton Primary School. ED2, Grand Turk South, the polling station is Robinson High School, and in Salkey, the Mary Robinson Primary School. There's also a machine to be set up at His Majesty's Prison in Grand Turk. In ED3, South Caicos, you can vote at the Iris Stubbs Primary School. And in ED4, Middle and North Caicos, in Conch Bar, it's at the Community Center. Q, the Community Center. Bottle Creek, the Adelaide Omla Primary School. And in Whitby, the courtroom in the police building. In ED5, Leeward and Long Bay, your polling station is Wesley Methodist School. In ED6, the Bight, it's the A. Louise Garland Thomas High School. ED7, Richmond Hills and Cheshire Hall, Provinciales, the polling station is the Gustavus Lightman Sports Complex. And in ED8, Blue Hills, you can cast your votes at the Osita Jolly Primary School. ED9, Five Keys, Felix Morley Community Center and the Enid Capron Primary School. In ED10, your polling station in Whelan is the Best Institute School. Remember, this is history in the making. You can watch, listen, and decide. Watch RTC on Facebook, on RTC Station. And additionally, we'll be on Flow Television on channel 111, that's 111, and on Digicel TV, you can view tomorrow's proceedings on channel 4. This has been a great morning. We're just hours away now from polling day, February 7th, Friday, tomorrow, general elections in the Turks and Caicos Islands. Join us on all our social media platforms. Tune in. Remember, for your polling stations, you can look on the TCI Elections website or call the Elections Department in either Provinciales or Grand Turk for information. Thank you all for joining us. It's been fun. We've had a good morning. We look forward to history in the making tomorrow when we join you for coverage, live coverage of the election day proceedings. Until then, Turks and Caicos, we invite you to exercise your rights. Be careful, be cautious, be respectful, be mindful of others' opinions, and let's just do all the things that we should do. Until tomorrow, I'm Cheryl Ann Foreman. Thank you for joining us.
The Elections Department would like to remind voters of the proper way to mark their ballots during the upcoming general elections. To ensure your vote is counted accurately, do not mark an X or a check mark on your ballot. Instead, you must completely shade in the oval next to the candidate or option of your choice. Properly marking your ballot is critical to avoid errors and ensure the electronic tabulating machines can process your vote correctly. If you have any questions about how to correctly mark your ballot, please ask for assistance from the elections officials present at your polling station. Let's work together to make the voting process smooth and effective for everyone.